four-time Super Bowl champ, offensive lineman. I wish he could line up on Sunday. We need him up in the interior. Did it all for the 49ers, winning those 4 Super Bowls. He's a legend in our minds here in San Francisco. Should be a Hall of Famer. Jesse, good morning, man. How are you doing? Welcome to the Morning Roast.
Good morning, man. Thank you for having me on. How you guys doing?
Oh, man, we're doing great as we talk to Jesse Sapolu, of course, on the Boxer Girls and Guest line. And, look, we're fired up for Las Vegas. I don't know. Will you be down in Las Vegas? I know we'll get there this weekend. Will you be at the game, Jesse?
Yes, I'll be at the game. I got in yesterday, so, it's exciting. I'm sure this is the first time the Super Bowl's ever been held in a venue like this, Las Vegas, where, the city that nobody sleeps. So it's exciting for our faithfuls to come in.
Hey, talk about your memories of getting ready for the Super Bowl. What is this week like for the players?
Well, usually most of the work is done last week. This week is about refining, still practice at full speed, but the contact, you pull back a little bit on it. I know yesterday they had a media day, and they're going to have some media commitments in the next couple of days. But as the days gets closer to the game, you start feeling you need to be by yourself and remove yourself from your family and everybody else, because this is your one shot to become the best in the world.
Jesse, when you look at this right now, there's a lot of guys on both sides who've played in a Super Bowl already. How did your experience change from your first Super Bowl to your last?
Well, the first one was really, really exciting for me. And then at some point, maybe my third one, you started thinking about, hey, this is a chance of my generation of 49ers to make history, and we did make history as the only club to go 5-0 in that period. But yeah, at my last Super Bowl, I played with a guy named Ricky Jackson, who was a nemesis with the New Orleans Saints for a long time.
Yeah.
And to see him at our ring ceremony act like a little child, he was just jumping up and down. It made me more happy for him than I was for myself. But, a lot of different things. At some point, you start playing for history, and then you start playing for someone that deserves to be a world champion. There's a teammate of yours, and it's very similar to, a lot of our young players. They need to play for Trent that way. So I think that's how I felt the more I won Super Bowls.
I'm glad you brought up Trent, because you were a guy with tremendous size, great speed, great hand-eye coordination. I mean, I look at Trent Williams, and I can't think of a better athlete to play that position. Well, what do you see when you watch Trent Williams play? Because we've been so lucky to have him at this point in his career.
Athletic, a lot of experience. A lot of the things that some of the tricks that he uses makes me laugh. Because I know he's at this stage of his career. He doesn't have to grind all the time. He can use that experience and athleticism to get away with some of the blocks that he does. And a big fan of Trent. I think he's a great leader for our young guys, especially the guys, the 2 young guards inside. And now we got Feliciano that's playing well inside there. So, like I said, there's someone that I can identify with, because I came back from heart surgery, and he came back from having cancer, and he's one of those guys that I'm just hoping that can win a ring this week.
Yeah, we're hoping he can win a ring. We're hoping Christian McCaffrey can win a ring. And we're hoping Brock Purdy can win a ring, Jesse. And Brock Purdy's been a topic of conversation in the football world, some nasty dialogues there. But Brock Purdy, what's your evaluation of him when you watch him run around there and make plays for the Niners?
Well, I spoke at his Mr. Irrelevant banquet in Newport Beach. The Niners sent me there. And I talked to him about, I was an 11th round draft choice, so I feel like a Mr. Irrelevant coming out. But, a lot of people say it's premature for us to compare him to Joe Montana. And not that I'm comparing him to Joe, but there's a lot of similarities in their games. The ability to process defenses, throwing at a spot, anticipation, is one of his strengths. And we saw last week, and I knew that all along because I saw it in preseason. We saw last week that he can actually scramble and get out of trouble, which is what separates him even more from what Jimmy G can do. Jimmy took us a long ways, and we'll always be thankful of that. But I think Brock's ability to anticipate, solve defenses in a short period of time, and then get away from trouble. And if it wasn't for his legs, I honestly didn't think we could win that game last week.
Were you there at the game?
Yes, I was there at the game.
That's what I thought. We had talked with Bryant Young last week. Walk me through your experience watching that game. I mean, I saw a little bit of both Joe and Steve. I mean, no one's saying that he is those guys. Those guys are all-time legends. But his ability to escape trouble, and he was running recklessly, but getting first downs, and he made some big-time throws. I mean, walk us through the experience. Was your heart racing like it was ours?
Yeah, it was. Because I just felt like, wow, we cannot let this game get away from us. And the thing that made me a little nervous is our defense didn't prove that they could stop them in the first half. So even if we have a great second half offensive game, we need to stop their offense. And thank God our defense came out and got the job done. But with Brock Purdy, everybody's saying he can't play from behind. He can't put a team on his back. Well, I don't know, what people are seeing, but, what he did last week from 17 points down to bring our team back, and now we're in the Super Bowl. I love an underdog story, and I don't know why a lot of the sports shows are harder on him. I'm thinking, people should fall in love with this guy because, he's not expected to do anything, and here he is. It's a great example for a lot of kids that are not looked at very highly, that, if you believe in yourself, you can do something with it. And so that's why I'm a big fan of Brock Purdy's, and I think a lot of America will be cheering for him to get it done.
No, I'm with you, Jesse. I'm definitely with you. Do you still keep in touch with Eddie D by any chance?
Yes, I stay in touch with Eddie D. I saw him about 5 weeks ago at our alumni day when he came in, so it's always great to see him.
Do you text him during the game, or have you texted him since the Niners have advanced to the Super Bowl?
No, I haven't texted him, but I'm sure, knowing Eddie D, he was probably kicking things in his kitchen during the first half. But
what can we do to get Eddie D back out to a game, man? If people want to see him, I'm thinking about, I see Jed York up there, Dr. John York, and, Eddie D had his fingerprints over this organization. I would love to see him out there in Vegas. And I know he loved Vegas. That was his town.
Yeah, I remember we had our reunion here for all 5 Super Bowls.
Yep.
I think about some 8 years ago, and we did it here at the Paris Hotel. So, but you're right. He likes Vegas. But also, if you look at Jed, has done a nice job.
He has.
Of kind of copying his uncle. Because for us to consistently play in NFC Championship games, and this is what I tell people all the time, I got 4 rings, but I lost 4 NFC Championship games. So the only reason I'm sitting here with 4 rings is because I was able to keep taking my shot with the team that I played on. And, our young players, Brock Purdy and these guys, keep taking their shot, and sooner or later they're going to break through, and I think they're going to do it this Sunday.
How do you stop Chris Jones? You're an offensive lineman. I mean, this guy, he's just an absolute monster. What do they got to do to slow this guy down?
Well, first of all, it's a mental thing. I played against some of the defensive lines that Minnesota came in with 71 sacks one year. I mean, think about that. That's like having 6 guys with double-digit sacks, and they had 2 Hall of Famers, and all 4 of them were Pro Bowlers. They had John Randall, they had Chris Dolman, they had Keith Millard, so those lines were dangerous lines, dangerous players. I think it's a mentality, when I coach the kids that I coach now, that I try to train a little bit, I say, you can't play scared. And they look at me like, what do you mean? I'm not scared. I say, I don't mean that you're scared to get hurt, but sometimes you're so hesitant because you're so nervous about who's lining up in the front of you. You have to have confidence in yourself. That the reason you're in the league and you're playing in that position because because you're good. Sometimes you overly respect someone, and then you stop playing scared. And I think Chris Jones has earned the reputation that he has. But we all have a starting point, and I think our two young guys inside, this might be their starting point to make a real big name for themselves.
Yeah, Aaron Banks has played well. And what about Feliciano? He's come out of nowhere here and taking that right guard spot, and he's played some good football, Jesse.
I think he's stabilized us a little bit, as far as our pass protection, I think we got a great young line. If you remember, one of the most dominant teams in the history of the NFL was our '89 Super Bowl team that beat Denver 55-10. We alternated two positions by quarters. Bubba Paris and Steve Wallace alternated by quarters, and then Bruce Colley and Terry Tosh alternated at right guard. So, as long as you have a lot of depth and you have guys that play together, I think you can have a great football team.
How worried are you about Mahomes, Jesse? You said you were nervous in that title game. We'll let you leave with this one. My man over here, Shasky, I get it. Mahomes is the best in the business. He's a problem, no doubt about it.
He's the outlier.
What do you think of Mahomes, Jesse? You played with Montana and Steve Young. You were blessed.
Well, obviously, the greatness of Mahomes can't be denied. But at the same time, if you want to be a champion, you have to be willing to go through anything to get there. I remember we were a young line in 1988, and we went to Chicago to face that defense, with Mike Singletary, Dan Hampton, and Richard Dent, and 31 below zero, and everybody was writing, I'm from Hawaii, California players are soft, and we went in there and beat them 28-10. It's all in the mind. If you're willing to pay the price to become the best in the world, then you step up and get it done. It's as simple as that. Like I said, you can respect people, but you shouldn't fear anyone.
Yep.
If you want to become a world champion.
If you're scared, go to church, right, Jesse? If you're scared, go to church, man. Let's go out there.
That's why I went to church on Sunday.
This is why Shasky goes to church. I did pray. I'm not going to lie, Jesse. I prayed at halftime only because I knew what would come on sports radio if the Niners had lost. I was praying for that aspect. Anyway, we'll see you at Super Bowl Sunday, man. Can't wait to see you in Las Vegas. Jesse, always good to talk to you.
Always good to talk to you guys. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Jesse Sapolu, no doubt about it, here on the Boxer Girls and Guest Line. 4-time Super Bowl champ, a swing guard, center. One of the best ever. I love Jesse, man.
So